The text message glowed on Erica's iPad like a neon sign in a dark window. Thanks for last night. I stared at those words until they burned into my retinas, my coffee growing cold in my hands while the morning sun streamed through our kitchen window. My name is Mark Harlan, and I fix boats for a living. 38 years old, calloused hands, and apparently stupid enough to think my marriage was solid. I run Harlan Marine Repair down at the harbor, where honest work meets honest pay. Nothing fancy, but it keeps food on the table and pays the mortgage on our little Cape Cod house overlooking the water. Erica stumbled through the front door at dawn, her yoga mat slung over her shoulder and that particular glow that comes from more than just a good workout. She teaches fitness classes at the Ocean View Spa and runs some wellness influencer nonsense online. Perfect body, perfect smile, perfect lie. Morning, honey, she chirped, heading straight for the shower without making eye contact. Girls' night ran late. You know how Mandy gets when she starts talking. I held up the iPad. Funny thing about girls' night. Trevor Holt doesn't strike me as the type to paint his nails. She froze halfway up the stairs, her hand gripping the banister. When she turned around, that perfect smile had shifted into something sharper. You went through my messages? It was sitting right there, lit up like a Christmas tree. Hard to miss when someone's sending fire emojis at 6 a.m. Erica descended the stairs slowly, each step calculated. She'd always been good at this, turning defense into offense with surgical precision. If you're going to be jealous and paranoid, maybe you should find somewhere else to sleep it off. Jealous? I set down my mug harder than necessary. I'm curious about the sunscreen on your back. Weird thing to need at midnight. She laughed, that tinkling sound that used to make my heart race and now made my stomach turn. God, Mark, you sound pathetic. Trevor was at the beach volleyball thing yesterday. We all were. If you actually paid attention to what I do instead of hiding in that greasy workshop, you'd know that. The workshop. She always threw that at me when she wanted to make me feel small. Like fixing engines and repairing hulls was somehow beneath her yoga poses and smoothie recipes. Right, I said. Beach volleyball, in the dark. Whatever. She waved me off like an annoying fly. I'm taking a shower. When I get out, maybe you can act like the husband I married instead of some insecure teenager. The bathroom door slammed, and I heard the water start running. I sat there in our kitchen, surrounded by her motivational quotes stuck to the refrigerator and her organic everything cluttering the counters, and something cold settled in my chest. Trevor Holt, real estate golden boy, gym rat, and apparently my wife's new hobby. I'd seen him around town, the type who wore designer workout gear to buy groceries and drove a BMW with vanity plates. Everything I wasn't, which I guess was the point. My phone buzzed. A text from my buddy Jake at the marina. Saw your wife at Rusty's last night. She seemed friendly. Rusty's Anchor. The beachfront bar where locals went to drink and tourists went to pretend they were locals. Not exactly the yoga studio or wherever Erica claimed to spend her evenings. I opened my laptop and pulled up her Instagram. There it was, a story from last night showing her and 3 other women at some upscale restaurant in town. Timestamp 8:47 p.m. But Jake's text suggested she'd been at Rusty's later, and Trevor's message suggested she'd been somewhere else entirely after that. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The shower was still running upstairs. I scrolled through more of her recent posts, looking for clues I'd been too trusting to notice before. Her follower count had jumped significantly in the past few months. More likes, more comments, more attention. And there, buried in the replies to a fitness video from 2 weeks ago. Looking good, E. Trevor Holt. My wife came downstairs 20 minutes later, hair perfect, makeup flawless, ready to face the world. She grabbed her keys and protein shake without looking at me. I have 3 classes today and a consultation this afternoon, she said. Try not to work yourself into a paranoid frenzy while I'm gone. Erica. She paused at the door. We need to talk. Tonight. No phones, no distractions, just us. For a moment, something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe, or fear. Then the mask slipped back into place. Fine. But you need to figure out whether you want to be married to me or to your insecurities. The door closed behind her with a soft click, and I was alone with the morning light and the growing certainty that my marriage was already over. The question wasn't whether Erica was cheating. The evidence was piling up like storm clouds on the horizon. The question was what I planned to do about it. I'd always been the type to fix things, broken engines, damaged hulls, relationships that hit rough water, but some things, once they're cracked, can't be repaired. They can only be replaced, or in this case, exposed for what they really were. I poured myself another cup of coffee and opened my laptop again. If Erica wanted to play games, she'd picked the wrong opponent. I might just be a guy who fixes boats, but I'd learned a thing or two about patience, planning, and the satisfaction of a job done right. Time to get to work. The Ocean View Spa sat on Harbor Street like a glass and chrome monument to vanity, all clean lines and motivational posters about finding your best self. I parked across the street at Murphy's Hardware and watched through my rearview mirror as my wife emerged from her silver Lexus, a car that cost more than most people made in 6 months. 3 days had passed since the iPad incident, 3 days of cold shoulders, clipped conversations, and Erica staying out later each night. She'd canceled our talk twice, claiming emergency client sessions and a sudden need to help Mandy with some crisis that required wine and several hours of absence. I'd spent those 3 days doing what I do best, methodical investigation. When you're troubleshooting an engine problem, you don't guess. You gather data, test theories, and follow the evidence wherever it leads. The evidence was leading me straight to Trevor Holt. My phone buzzed. A text from Tasha Morrison, one of Erica's clients who'd become something of a friend over the years. Tasha worked at the bank and had a talent for seeing through people's carefully constructed facades. Coffee? I have something you need to know. We met at Driftwood Cafe, a local spot that served actual coffee instead of the overpriced foam art that passed for drinks at the trendy places. Tasha slid into the booth across from me, her expression serious. I wasn't sure whether to say anything, she began, stirring sugar into her mug. But after seeing you at the grocery store yesterday, looking like someone ran over your dog, just tell me. Erica's been bragging, to her inner circle anyway, about having options, about not being tied down to... She paused, choosing her words carefully. To someone who smells like motor oil and doesn't understand her ambitions. The words hit like a punch to the gut, but I kept my expression neutral. Go on? There's more. She's been showing off expensive jewelry that definitely didn't come from your anniversary last year, and she's got some kind of side business that's bringing in serious money. Like serious money. Designer handbags, spa treatments, that new car. I thought about our joint checking account, which showed Erica's spa income and my marine repair earnings. Comfortable, but not Lexus comfortable. What kind of side business? That's the thing. Nobody knows. She's secretive about it. Claims it's consulting work for wellness companies, but the numbers don't add up. Mandy asked her about it directly last week, and Erica got defensive. Started talking about how some people understand investment opportunities and others just don't. Tasha leaned forward. Mark, I like you. You're genuine, which is rare in this town. But Erica's been different lately. Colder, more calculating. And she's been spending a lot of time with Trevor Holt. How much time? Enough that people are talking. Brady Walsh saw them at the Marriott Bar in Millfield last Tuesday. That's 40 minutes away. Not exactly a casual encounter. Brady Walsh managed the gym where Trevor practically lived. If he was talking, the gossip network was already in motion. In a town this size, secrets had a shelf life measured in days, not months. There's something else, Tasha continued. Erica's been asking questions about divorce law, specifically about asset protection and spousal support. She cornered Janet Riley at book club last week. You know Janet's a paralegal. And grilled her about hiding income during separation proceedings. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. Asset protection. Erica wasn't just cheating, she was planning an exit strategy. And from the sound of it, she intended to leave me with nothing but the clothes on my back and a workshop full of tools. Why are you telling me this? Tasha's expression softened. Because you deserve better. And because Erica's been treating people like stepping stones lately. She canceled 3 clients this week with no notice, including my sister. Just said she was evolving her brand and didn't have time for beginners anymore. After Tasha left, I sat in the cafe and processed what I'd learned. Erica wasn't just having an affair, she was orchestrating a complete life makeover with Trevor as her meal ticket and our marriage as collateral damage. The secret income, the expensive purchases, the legal questions, she was building a foundation for her new life while systematically dismantling our old one. My phone rang. Erica. Hey, she said, her voice artificially bright. I'm going to be late tonight. Client emergency. Which client? A pause. New one. Very high maintenance. Might not be home until after midnight. On a Thursday? Some people have demanding schedules, Mark. Not everyone works 9 to 5 in a garage. The workshop jab again. She really couldn't help herself. Right. Well, I'll probably be asleep when you get back. Long day tomorrow. Perfect. Okay. Love you. The words sounded hollow, like an actor reading lines from a script they'd grown tired of performing. After hanging up, I drove to the marina and sat in my workshop, surrounded by the honest smell of marine paint and engine grease that Erica found so distasteful. The space felt like a sanctuary now, the one place where things made sense, where problems had solutions, where hard work produced visible results. I pulled out a legal pad and started making lists. What I knew, what I suspected, what I needed to prove. Erica might be planning her escape, but she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated the guy who smells like motor oil. She thought I was just a simple mechanic who'd roll over and accept whatever scraps she decided to leave behind. But fixing boats had taught me patience, persistence, and the value of attention to detail. It had also taught me that when something was beyond repair, the smartest move was often to salvage what you could and start over. The question was, what did I want to salvage from this wreck of a marriage? My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Your wife left her credit card at Rusty's last night. Thought you should know. A friend. I stared at the message for a long time. Someone was watching, someone who'd decided to pick a side. The gossip network that Tasha had mentioned wasn't just spreading information, it was choosing allies. Time to find out who else might be willing to help me uncover the truth about Erica's new life. And more importantly, time to figure out how to make sure she didn't get to enjoy it at my expense. Old man Conroy was watering his prize-winning roses when I pulled into my driveway Friday morning, but his eyes were fixed on my house with the intensity of a hawk watching a field mouse. At 73, Harold Conroy had appointed himself the unofficial neighborhood watch commander, and nothing happened on Maple Street without his knowledge and commentary. "Morning, Harold," I called out, grabbing my tool bag from the truck. He shuffled over to the fence line, garden hose still in hand. "That wife of yours had company yesterday afternoon." I paused. "Company?" "Fancy BMW. Stayed about 2 hours while you were at work. Driver didn't get out, but I got a good look at the plates." He pulled a crumpled piece of paper from his shirt pocket. "Wrote 'em down. Trev 1. Subtle as a brick through a window. Trevor. In my driveway. At my house. While I was working to pay the mortgage on the place where he was apparently entertaining my wife." "Appreciate the heads up, Harold." "That's not all." He leaned closer, lowering his voice conspiratorially. "Been happening regular-like. Tuesdays and Thursdays, usually around 1 o'clock. Right after that yoga class she teaches at the spa." The pieces clicked into place. Erica's Tuesday and Thursday classes ended at noon. She'd been coming home to shower and change. Or so I'd thought. Apparently she'd been coming home for something else entirely. "You got security cameras, Harold?" His weathered face creased into something resembling a smile. "Motion activated, high definition, covers my whole property and a good chunk of yours. Installed them after those teenagers egged my mailbox last Halloween." "Any chance? Already burned you a disc. Figured you might want to see what your own driveway looks like when you're not around to enjoy it." Harold Conroy might be a cranky old gossip, but he understood loyalty. And apparently he'd decided that Trevor Holt's BMW didn't belong in our neighborhood. Inside the house, I loaded Harold's disc into my laptop and watched my marriage dissolve in high-definition clarity. There was Erica's Lexus pulling in at 12:47 p.m. last Tuesday, followed 3 minutes later by Trevor's BMW. Both cars disappeared into the garage. My garage, which I'd spent 2 weekends organizing so Erica would have space for her yoga equipment. The timestamp showed Trevor leaving at 3:23 p.m., straightening his shirt and checking his hair in the side mirror like a teenager sneaking out after curfew. Erica emerged 5 minutes later to move his car out of the garage, then waved goodbye from our front porch wearing the silk robe I'd given her for Christmas. My phone rang. Jake from the marina. "You need to get down here," he said without preamble. "Now." The harbor was busy with the usual Friday afternoon crowd, weekend sailors prepping their boats, tourists wandering the docks, local fishermen heading out for the evening run. Jake waited by the fuel dock, his expression grim. "Brady Walsh was just here," he said. "Looking for you." Brady managed the gym where Trevor worked out religiously, and Erica taught her occasional advanced flexibility classes. He was also married to Janet Riley, the paralegal who'd apparently been grilled about divorce law at book club. What did he want? "To warn you, seems Trevor's been shooting his mouth off at the gym, bragging about his new project and how some people don't appreciate what they have. The marina suddenly felt too small, too exposed." "What kind of bragging?" "The kind that makes other guys want to throw weights at his head. Brady said Trevor's been showing off texts, talking about upgrading someone's lifestyle, making jokes about mechanics who don't know how to satisfy their wives." The words hit like a physical blow, but I forced myself to stay calm. Getting angry wouldn't help. Getting even might. "There's more," Jake continued. Janet heard through the legal grapevine that someone's been asking around about asset concealment, specifically how to hide income streams during divorce proceedings. And Brady's wife isn't the only paralegal getting questions. So Tasha had been right. Erica wasn't just cheating, she was building a legal strategy. The secret income, the expensive purchases, the casual questions about divorce law, she was laying groundwork for a settlement that would leave me holding an empty bag. Jake, I need a favor. Name it. That friend of yours who does private investigation work, the retired cop, is he still available for consulting? Jake nodded slowly. Pete Kowalski. Runs a small operation out of Millfield. Discreet, thorough, and he hates cheating spouses. His ex-wife cleaned him out 15 years ago. Can you set up a meeting? Already texting him. That evening, I sat in my workshop and made more lists. Names, dates, evidence, potential allies. The network was expanding, Harold with his cameras, Tasha with her insider information, Brady with his gym intelligence, Jake with his connections. Even old man Conroy's gossip pipeline was proving valuable. But I needed more than gossip. I needed proof that would hold up in court and public opinion. Because if Erica wanted to play the divorce game, she'd learn that mechanics understand leverage better than most people realize. My phone buzzed. A text from Erica. Working late again. Don't wait up. I typed back. No problem. Take your time. What I didn't mention was that I'd already driven past the spa. Her car wasn't in the parking lot. Neither was Trevor's BMW. But both vehicles were visible in the lot behind Rusty's Anchor, parked side by side like a matching set. Pete Kowalski could start his investigation Monday morning. By then, I'd have a comprehensive list of questions and a clear understanding of what I wanted to achieve. Erica thought she was playing chess while I played checkers. She was about to discover that some mechanics know more about strategy than she'd given me credit for, and unlike her games, mine would have consequences that lasted longer than a weekend affair. The workshop felt different now, not like a refuge, but like a command center. Time to stop reacting to Erica's moves and start making some of my own. Pete Kowalski looked exactly like what Central Casting would order for a retired cop-turned-private investigator. Steel gray hair, weathered face, eyes that missed nothing. We met at a diner in Millfield, far enough from home to avoid accidental encounters with anyone who might report back to Erica. Jake filled me in on the basics, Pete said, sliding a manila folder across the table. But I did some preliminary checking on my own. Your wife's been busy. The folder contained printouts of financial records, social media screenshots, and what appeared to be surveillance photos taken with a telephoto lens. My stomach clenched as I flipped through images of Erica and Trevor at various locations around the region. Restaurants, hotels, a beach house I didn't recognize. How did you get these so quickly? Trevor Holt's not as discreet as he thinks. Posted a story on Instagram 2 weeks ago showing off his lunch companion. Didn't tag her, but the reflection in his sunglasses shows your wife clear as day. Social media makes my job easier than it used to be. Pete opened a notebook and consulted his notes. Here's what I've confirmed so far. Your wife has been meeting Trevor Holt regularly for approximately 4 months. They've been to the Marriott in Millfield, the Ocean View Resort, and a private beach house in Rockport that belongs to one of Trevor's real estate clients. 4 months. The timeline hit me like cold water. 4 months of lies, elaborate scheduling, and careful deception. What about the money situation? That's where it gets interesting. Pete pulled out bank statements. Erica's been depositing significant cash amounts into a separate account at Harbor Trust, an account that's not listed on any of the financial documents you provided. We're talking about $30,000 to $40,000 over the past 6 months. I stared at the numbers. From what source? Still working on that, but I have a theory. Trevor's been flipping properties at an unusual rate lately, and several of his recent sales have been to out-of-state buyers who paid cash, above asking price. Could be legitimate, could be money laundering, or could be something in between. You think Erica's involved in his business? I think your wife's smarter than either of you gave her credit for. She's not just having an affair, she's positioning herself as a business partner. The wellness influencer thing? That's probably a front for moving money around. Easy to claim consulting fees, product endorsements, online coaching revenues, all cash-friendly, all hard to verify. Pete showed me more photos. Erica meeting with people I didn't recognize, carrying manila envelopes, using her phone to photograph documents. She looked professional, focused, nothing like the yoga instructor who complained about having to balance our checkbook. There's something else, Pete continued. Trevor's engaged. What? Engaged to be married. Has been for 8 months. Fiancé lives in Boston, works in finance, comes up on weekends. Her name's Caroline Mitchell, and from what I can tell, she has no idea about Trevor's extracurricular activities. The revelation shifted everything. This wasn't just about my marriage. It was about Trevor playing multiple women while building some kind of financial scheme with my wife as his local partner. Pete, I need you to dig deeper. I want to know everything. The money trail, the business connections, how long this has been planned, and I want documentation that will hold up if this goes legal. What's your end game here, Mark? Because what I'm seeing suggests your wife's not just cheating, she's committing fraud. You could have her arrested. I thought about that for a moment. Prison would certainly end the affair, but it wouldn't give me the satisfaction I was looking for. Erica had spent months making me feel small, insignificant, disposable. She'd planned to discard me like an old engine part while keeping the benefits of our shared life. I don't want her arrested, I said finally. I want her exposed. I want everyone in town to see exactly who she really is. And I want Trevor's fiancé to know what kind of man she's planning to marry. Pete nodded slowly. Public humiliation instead of prosecution. Riskier for you, but more devastating for them. I can work with that. How long do you need? Give me 2 weeks. I'll have enough evidence to bury both of them in the court of public opinion. That afternoon, I drove back to town with a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in months. Erica's car was in the spa parking lot, which meant she was actually working for once. I parked across the street and watched through the windows as she led a yoga class, all serene smiles and graceful movements. The woman in there bore no resemblance to the calculating schemer in Pete's photographs. But then again, that was probably the point. Erica had always been good at showing people what they wanted to see. My phone buzzed. A text from Harold Conroy. BMW's back. Thought you'd want to know. I drove home and parked around the corner, then walked through Harold's backyard to get a clear view of my own house. Sure enough, Trevor's car sat in my driveway like he owned the place. The arrogance was breathtaking. Been there about 20 minutes, Harold said, appearing beside me with a pair of binoculars. Your wife got home first, opened the garage, then texted someone. He showed up 5 minutes later. You're keeping detailed notes, aren't you, Harold? Son, I've been documenting this soap opera better than the police document crime scenes. Dates, times, license plates, even weather conditions. When this thing blows up, and it will blow up, you'll have evidence that could convict them in any court in the country. Harold Conroy, neighborhood busybody and accidental private investigator. If the situation weren't so personally devastating, it would almost be funny. Harold, when this is over, I owe you a very expensive bottle of whatever you drink. Bourbon, the good stuff. And Mark, when you're ready to make your move, let me know. This old neighborhood could use some excitement. I walked back to my truck with a plan forming in my mind. Pete would provide the professional evidence, Harold would document the local activities, and I would orchestrate the timing. Because if Erica wanted to play games with my life, she was about to learn that some games have consequences she hadn't anticipated. The next 2 weeks were going to be very interesting. 2 weeks later, Pete Kowalski's final report read like a crime novel. Erica and Trevor had been running a sophisticated real estate scam, using her wellness business as a front to launder money from inflated property sales. The scheme involved fake online reviews, manufactured bidding wars, and cash transactions that disappeared into accounts across 3 states. Your wife's not just smart, Pete said, handing me a thick folder in the same Millfield diner. She's brilliant. Evil, but brilliant. This operation could have made them millions if they'd kept it small and stayed patient. Could have? Greed got the better of them. They started moving too much money too quickly, and Trevor got careless with the paper trail. I've got bank records, email exchanges, and recorded phone conversations that prove everything. I flipped through transcripts of conversations between Erica and Trevor discussing the mechanic problem and timeline for Phase 2 of their plan. Phase 2 apparently involved divorcing me, liquidating our joint assets, and relocating to Florida where Trevor's cousin ran a similar operation on a larger scale. There's more, Pete continued. Trevor's fiancée isn't just some innocent victim. Caroline Mitchell works for a financial services company that specializes in offshore accounts. She's been helping them move money internationally. So all 3 of them are in on it? Looks that way, which means when this explodes, it's going to take out more than just your marriage. That evening, I sat in my workshop and planned the endgame. I had enough evidence to destroy all 3 of them, but timing would be everything. Too early, and they might have time to cover their tracks. Too late, and they might disappear with their stolen money. But first, I needed to set the stage. I started with Mandy, Erica's best friend and biggest gossip conduit. Mandy worked at the bank where Erica had opened her secret account, which made her both an information source and a potential ally. Mark! Mandy seemed genuinely surprised to see me at the coffee shop where she spent her lunch breaks. How are you? Erica said you've been working crazy hours lately. Something like that. I slid into the booth across from her. Actually, I wanted to ask you about something. Erica's been getting some expensive gifts lately. Jewelry, clothes, that kind of thing. She says it's from her online business, but the numbers seem high for yoga videos. Mandy's expression shifted slightly. Well, she has been doing really well with the influencer thing. Lots of brand partnerships. Right, it's just some of the purchases seem unusual. Like, why would a wellness coach need multiple designer handbags and that new car? Mark, are you okay? You seem concerned. I'm concerned that my wife might be involved in something that could get her in trouble, or get us both in trouble, since we're married. I let that sink in for a moment. Mandy worked in banking. She understood financial liability better than most people. What kind of trouble? The kind that involves cash transactions, unreported income, and business partnerships that might not be entirely legal. Mandy's face went pale. Mark, what are you saying? I'm saying that if Erica's involved in something questionable, and you've been helping her with banking arrangements, you could be considered an accessory. It was a bluff, but a calculated one. Mandy had always been more follower than leader, more worried about consequences than excited by opportunities. The possibility of legal trouble would terrify her. I just processed deposits, standard transactions, nothing illegal. I'm sure you didn't know. But Mandy, if something comes out, and I think something's going to come out soon, you might want to make sure you're on the right side of it. I left her sitting in the coffee shop, staring into her latte like it might contain answers to questions she didn't want to ask. Next stop, Brady Walsh at the gym. Brady had already proven himself willing to share information, and his wife's legal background made him naturally cautious about potential criminal activity. Mark, good to see you. Brady looked up from the equipment he was maintaining. How's the boat business? Steady. Listen, Brady, I wanted to thank you for the heads up about Trevor's gym talk. That kind of information helps a guy prepare for difficult conversations. No problem. Guy was being a jerk, and you deserve to know. The thing is, I think there might be more going on than just an affair. Financial stuff. The kind of stuff that might involve other people without them realizing it. Brady stopped working and gave me his full attention. What kind of financial stuff? Real estate transactions, cash movements, business partnerships that might not be entirely legitimate. And if Trevor's been using the gym as a meeting place or a cover for business discussions. He has been meeting with people here. Thought it was just networking, but now that you mention it, some of those conversations seemed pretty intense. Brady, if this thing goes public, and I think it will, you might want to have Janet review any paperwork or agreements Trevor might have asked you to sign, just to be safe. I could see the wheels turning in Brady's head. Janet's legal training had probably made him more cautious than most people about potential liability. I'll talk to her tonight, he said. And Mark, if you need anything, documentation, witness statements, whatever, let me know. The network was expanding and shifting. People who'd been neutral or even friendly to Erica were beginning to see potential risks in their associations with her. More importantly, they were beginning to see me as someone who might be able to protect them from those risks. My phone buzzed. A text from Erica. Working late again. Client dinner in Millfield. I drove to Millfield and confirmed that her car was parked behind an upscale restaurant next to Trevor's BMW. Then I drove to the beach house in Rockport that Pete had identified and took photos of Caroline Mitchell's Mercedes in the driveway. All three conspirators in one place, probably planning their next move or celebrating their recent successes. Perfect timing for what I had planned next. I sent a single text to Pete Kowalski. Tomorrow, make the calls. Phase 1 of my own plan was complete. Phase 2 would begin in the morning, and by the end of the week, everyone in town would know exactly who Erica Harlan really was. The workshop felt different now, not like a refuge or a command center, but like the calm before a storm. Tomorrow the weather was going to change dramatically. Friday morning arrived gray and drizzly, the kind of weather that made the harbor look like a noir film set. I was at my workshop by 6 a.m., ostensibly preparing for a busy day of boat repairs, but really just waiting for Pete Kowalski to make his calls. At exactly 9 o'clock, my phone rang. It's done, Pete said. Caroline Mitchell now knows about her fiancé's local activities. I sent her copies of the photos, bank records, and a detailed timeline. She was not pleased. How not pleased? The kind of not pleased that involves lawyers, private investigators, and immediate asset freezing. Trevor's about to discover that his fiancée has more resources and fewer scruples than he anticipated. What about the financial crimes angle? Reported to the appropriate authorities this morning. They'll start their investigation Monday, but the evidence is solid. Your wife and her boyfriend are going to have some very uncomfortable conversations with federal agents in the near future. I hung up and waited. In a town this size, news traveled faster than a nor'easter, and Caroline Mitchell struck me as the type who wouldn't suffer betrayal quietly. I didn't have to wait long. At 10:47 a.m., a black Mercedes with Massachusetts plates pulled into the parking lot of Trevor's real estate office. Caroline Mitchell emerged wearing a business suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary and an expression that could have frozen the harbor. By 11:15, she was back in her car, but Trevor's BMW was following her out of the parking lot. They headed toward the marina, probably seeking privacy for what was clearly going to be a very public argument. I walked down to the harbor and positioned myself at the fuel dock where I had a clear view of the parking area. Harold Conroy appeared beside me, binoculars in hand. "Heard there might be some excitement down here," he said. "Wouldn't want to miss it." "How did you hear?" Mandy called her sister, who called her cousin, who called my neighbor. Small-town telegraph system. Half the people in town know that Trevor's fiancée drove up from Boston looking like she wanted to commit murder. The Mercedes and BMW parked at opposite ends of the lot, like gunfighters preparing for a showdown. Caroline got out first, followed reluctantly by Trevor. Even from a distance, their body language told the story. Her rigid with fury, him defensive and increasingly desperate. Their voices carried across the water. 4 months, Caroline's voice cut through the morning air like a foghorn. 4 months of lies while you've been playing house with some small-town yoga instructor. Caroline, please, let me explain. Explain what? The bank records, the photographs, the business partnership that you somehow forgot to mention? Other people were beginning to notice the commotion. Fishermen, tourists, local business owners, all drawn by the magnetic pull of public drama. Someone was recording with their phone. "It's not what it looks like," Trevor said, his voice carrying a note of panic. "Erica and I, we're just business partners. The other stuff, that's just what? Just fraud? Just money laundering? Just you screwing around behind my back while I was planning our wedding?" Harold chuckled beside me. "That boy's about to learn why you don't mess with a woman who understands financial law." Caroline pulled out her phone and made a call, her voice dropping to a level we couldn't hear. But Trevor's reaction was visible from across the harbor. He went pale, then started gesturing frantically. "She's calling someone," Harold observed. "Probably a lawyer, or the police, or both." My own phone buzzed. A text from Erica. "Something's wrong. Trevor's fiancée is here and she's crazy, coming home." I typed back, "Take your time. I'm busy at the marina." What I didn't mention was that I was busy watching her world collapse in real time. Caroline finished her call and said something to Trevor that made him step backward like he'd been slapped. Then she got in her Mercedes and drove away, leaving him standing alone in the parking lot while a growing crowd of onlookers whispered and pointed. Trevor pulled out his phone and made his own call. Probably to Erica, probably to warn her that their carefully constructed scheme was falling apart faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. "Show's over," Harold announced, but he made no move to leave. For now, anyway, but I got a feeling this is just the opening act. I walked back to my workshop and waited for Erica to come home. She arrived 20 minutes later, her car tires squealing as she pulled into the driveway. She burst through the workshop door like a woman on fire. "Mark, we need to talk, right now." I looked up from the engine I was pretending to work on. "Sure, what's on your mind?" Trevor's fiancée showed up. She's making accusations, threatening lawsuits, claiming all kinds of crazy things about business partnerships and financial irregularities. That sounds serious. It's not serious, it's insane. She's obviously jealous and unstable, and she's trying to destroy Trevor's reputation because she can't handle the fact that he has female business associates. I had to admire Erica's commitment to the lie, even as it was crumbling around her. "So you and Trevor are business partners?" "Of course we are. I've been consulting on his real estate marketing, helping him understand the wellness demographic. It's all perfectly legitimate." "The $30,000 in your secret bank account, that's consulting fees?" Erica went very still. "What secret bank account?" "The one at Harbor Trust. The one you've been making cash deposits to for 6 months. The one that's not listed on any of our joint financial documents." Her face cycled through several expressions. Surprise, fear, anger, and finally calculation. "Mark, I can explain." "I'm sure you can. You've always been good at explanations, like explaining why Trevor's car is in our driveway twice a week, or why you smell like his cologne, or why people saw you at the Marriott when you were supposed to be teaching yoga." "You've been spying on me." "I've been paying attention, something I should have done months ago." Erica's mask finally slipped completely. The serene yoga instructor disappeared, replaced by someone I barely recognized, cold, calculating, and completely without remorse. Fine, she said. You want the truth? Trevor and I have been working together, and yes, we've been involved personally. But this marriage was over long before that started. You're a nice guy, Mark, but you're small time. You think small, you act small, you are small. I outgrew you 2 years ago. Small time, I repeated, like running a legitimate business and paying taxes on my income? Like being satisfied with fixing boats for fishermen when there are real opportunities out there for people with vision and ambition. Opportunities like defrauding real estate buyers and laundering money through fake wellness businesses? Her eyes narrowed. You don't know what you're talking about. I know that Caroline Mitchell has already called the FBI. I know that your business partner is about to be arrested for fraud. And I know that you've been planning to divorce me and disappear with money you stole from innocent people. For the first time since I'd known her, Erica looked genuinely afraid. Mark, listen to me. Whatever you think you know, whatever someone told you, we can work this out. We can fix this. Some things can't be fixed, Erica. They can only be replaced. I walked past her toward the house, leaving her standing in the workshop surrounded by the honest tools and honest work she'd always despised. Where are you going? She called after me. To pack your bags. I think it's time for you to find somewhere else to plan your next career move. The storm had finally broken, and the cleanup was about to begin. The Ocean View Gazette ran the story on Tuesday morning. Local real estate agent arrested in multi-state fraud scheme. Trevor's mugshot stared out from the front page, looking nothing like the confident golden boy who'd been showing off at the gym just a week earlier. Erica wasn't arrested. Pete had been careful to structure his evidence in a way that painted her as a victim of Trevor's manipulation rather than a willing co-conspirator. But her reputation in town was finished. The wellness studio canceled her classes, her online followers disappeared overnight, and the Whisper network that had once carried gossip now carried something much more damaging: the truth. She moved out on Wednesday, taking only her clothes and personal items. The expensive jewelry, the designer handbags, the Lexus, all of it stayed behind, either seized by federal agents or revealed to be purchased with money that legally belonged to defrauded real estate buyers. I kept the house, the workshop, and my dignity. More importantly, I kept the respect of people who mattered: Jake, Harold, Tasha, Brady, and a dozen others who'd watched the whole drama unfold and decided that sometimes the quiet guy who fixes boats knows more about loyalty and integrity than the flashy people who make promises they never intend to keep. Caroline Mitchell sent me a thank you card 2 weeks later. She'd recovered most of her money and was pursuing civil suits against both Trevor and Erica. Thank you for helping me see who Trevor really was before I made the biggest mistake of my life, she wrote. I hope you find someone who appreciates what you have to offer. On Friday evening, I sat on my back porch overlooking the harbor, drinking a beer and watching the sunset paint the water in shades of gold and crimson. The workshop was clean, the boats were repaired, and the mortgage was current. Simple pleasures, but real ones. My phone buzzed, a text from Tasha. Drinks at Rusty's tomorrow, I'm buying. I smiled and typed back, sounds perfect. Some storms destroy everything in their path. Others just clear away the debris that was cluttering up the view. As I watched the last light fade over the water, I realized that for the first time in months, I could see clearly all the way to the horizon, and the view was better than I'd remembered.